136 cases. The second ward, we have 393 cases. Third ward, we have 485 cases. The fourth ward, we have 481 cases. And in the fifth ward, we have 469 cases. In Essex County, there are 20,723 positive cases and 1,895 resulted in deaths. In New Jersey alone, the positive cases are well over 197,792 cases with 14,263 resulted in deaths. So with those numbers, although we have been doing pretty good, but again, as we've been saying, week by week, that we still have to stay vigilant, we still have to protect ourselves, we still have to make sure that when we out in public and around folks that we wear the masks. We gotta make sure we continue to practice social distance, and we gotta continue to make sure that we, again, wash our hands all the way up to our elbows, all right? So again, although you hear the Governor Phil Murphy, who has opened up quite a few things, but at a minimum, right? We still have to take what we call a precaution, right? We still have to make sure that we protect ourselves, protect our families, protect our grandparents, and those folks who are around us. So I just want to remind folks, although school is starting, our young people are home with virtual learning. Again, as they travel, make sure that they have that mask on, make sure you have your mask on, and just make sure we continue to stay safe. So as we move along in our weekly meeting, Dr. Griffin will soon be joining us, and she'll be able to talk about our flu station. She'll be able to talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing here in the city of East Orange during the winter to make sure that when it comes to health and safety, that we provide y'all with the information and things that you need to do in terms of keeping yourself safe. So with that, I am so honored to have our good friend, really don't need an introduction. He joined us early in this pandemic and this COVID-19. Chris joined us with so many other elected officials and making sure that he was able to provide information and when it came to the voting. And we know for the last few months and a couple of weeks, folks have been really asking questions, Mr. Durkins, about the voting process. So again, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. If you have an opening, you can open up. But again, I just want to go right into what's the process this year with this November election, so people can kind of be at ease and know what to do and know where to go in terms of the ballots and the voting process.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me to
Yes.
the town hall. I really appreciate being here. I appreciate your friendship and your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
To the great people of East Orange. Voting, I'll just begin by saying voting is our most powerful right as American citizens. Voting is our greatest right. The right to vote is freedom of speech. And that one moment when we vote, one person, one vote, we are equal because we all get a chance to voice our opinion without fear of retribution, without fear of intimidation. We voice our opinion on the direction of our community, of our county, of our state, of our country. And just 100 years ago, think about it, short time ago, 100 years ago, the 19th Amendment was passed giving women the right to vote. And that was a struggle, right? So think about how powerful the right is when it's not easy. In fact, it's the hardest right to gain and to keep. So it's a constant battle to take away, strip away the hurdles, break down the walls, to allow full participation. Everyone should vote, and we need everyone's voice because I would say voting is a direct correlation to the health and well-being of our community. Because if you vote, you feel more invested in the outcome and success of your community. That's what's so important. And you can't vote unless you're registered to vote.
Right.
So that deadline is October 13th. 27 days from today is the deadline to register to vote. And your vote won't count unless you're registered. So everyone needs to get registered, and you can get registered to vote by voting on a vote-by-mail form, a voter registration form. And the voter registration form is at essexclerk.com. It's at City Hall, the voter registration form. Also, you can register to vote online now at the New Jersey Division of Elections website. So New Jersey Division of Elections, you can register to vote online by just utilizing your Division of Motor Vehicles number or your Social Security number to get registered. You can find out if you're registered by going to the website, or you can Google, am I registered in New Jersey? You just put in your last name, your first name, the month and year of your birth, and it tells you if you're registered to vote.
Correct.
So that's what's important to know. You
Right.
have to be registered in order to vote.
Right, and thank you for that, Chris. Also, in the media, right, we know that there has been a lot of misinformation about voter fraud when it comes to voting by mail. How secure is it to vote by mail?
Very secure. Mayor, there is no reports, and the FBI just testified, there are zero reports of organized voter fraud throughout the country. It is as rare as, even more rare than get hit by lightning, voter fraud. This system is set up as a checks and balances, and it's a bipartisan system.
Right.
So the county clerk mails out the ballots, but the ballots, when they're returned to the Board of Elections. And the Board of Elections has 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans that serve on the Board of Elections and verify the validity of the signatures and whether or not the vote should count. They do say your vote does not count based on a signature comparison or no signature. You have a chance to rectify that. You have a chance to cure your signature and have your ballot counted. That just came in the primary, and it's for the general. So it's an opportunity, if your ballot is denied, to have your ballot counted.
Right. Well, that is great. If you can explain the difference between mail-in voting and absentee voting. Because sometimes people get it mixed up, you know, mail-in, absentee. So if you can, just explain what the 2 differences are.
I will. Okay, you know, absentee voting has been with us since the Civil War, so it's not something new.
Right.
We've been around with absentee voting for a long time because people in the military needed to vote, and they were away from home. So the difference, the technical difference between absentee voting and vote by mail is absentee voting, you need to document an excuse as to why you need a ballot. Whether it be you're in the military, you're disabled, you have to document an excuse. New York still has absentee voting. New Jersey in 2009 changed from absentee voting to vote by mail. We said that you should not have to give an excuse to vote by mail. There should be no excuse voting by mail, just like you go to the polls and go to the machine. So in 2009, we went to no excuse, vote by mail, and that's the difference.
Great, great, wow. There are those who have been voting absentees, right?
Yes.
But recently returned to New Jersey. How can they make sure that their vote counts in this election?
Okay, another great question, because in order to get your ballot, now the governor's executive order said that all registered voters will be mailed a ballot by October 5th. So we need to know the correct mail-to address. Obviously, everyone has a registered address, a voter registered address in Essex County, but we need to know where to mail your ballot. Let's say you were in college, and now you're home. And your mail-to address that's on your vote-by-mail application or your voter registration, there's on the form, either form, voter registration form or the vote-by-mail application, you put your registered address and where you want your election information mailed to. So you have to make sure that's correct. Where your sample ballot, where your vote-by-mail ballot is being mailed to needs to be updated. So if you're home, you need to send us a vote-by-mail application updating where we should send your ballot.
Wow, that's great. How can residents find out about their local polling places around Essex County or their local city that they live in?
Okay, so the polling places were just finalized today, all across Essex County. Tomorrow we'll post those polling places at essexclerk.com. Also, every registered voter will be mailed a postcard. There's no sample ballots this year for this election. Every registered voter, by executive order, must be mailed a postcard. On that postcard, it will tell you why we're holding this election in the manner in which we're holding it, the executive order, why every voter is being mailed a vote-by-mail ballot. It will also tell each voter where their polling place is, the address of their polling place, and it will tell each voter where they can view the sample ballots at EssexClerk.com. All the sample ballots are up on the website at EssexClerk.com right now.
Right, thank you for that. Quite often folks talk about the super polling site, right? So
Yes.
give an overview of that.
Well,
Chris.
you know, during the pandemic,
Right.
there's the distancing, social distancing, and a lot of polling sites that we have, not just Essex County, but throughout New Jersey, they're close quarters. You know, there's not much room to move around in. So the NBA came on board and said, hey, we can respond by providing arenas as polling places,
Right.
which are termed super polling places, because now you can allow for more districts in a bigger area to come in, to have more voters partake in voting on election day.
Right, right.
And not only that, so they're having voter registration drives at the Prudential Center, September 22nd, which is National Voter Registration Day. And then we're having early voting at the Prudential Center, at the county clerk's office, which we have, you know, beginning when we get our ballots in 2 weeks, but also at the South Mountain Recreation Complex 7 days before Election Day. If you didn't get your ballot beforehand, you can come and get your ballot in person at the Prudential Center, at the county clerk's office, the Hall of Records, and at the South Mountain Recreation Complex.
Right, so most folks should be expecting their ballots in another 2 weeks?
Yes,
2 more weeks?
we are targeting a mailing date of September 28th.
Okay,
So
great.
September 28th, we are mailing the ballots. You should be expecting your ballot hopefully by October 1st.
Okay,
But if you
right.
don't have your ballot by October 5th, you should start to question it.
Okay. So everyone, you heard that as our county clerk said, if you don't have your ballot back by October 5th, then actually start questioning it, but make that call so you get that ballot. Now, some people did not receive a ballot during the primaries, but say they are a registered voter, right? How can they assure they receive a ballot for the November up-and-coming election?
Okay, so there's a couple ways that a voter can check to see if they're registered. They can go to the New Jersey Division of Elections website, or they can search, am I registered to vote in New Jersey? And in that program, they can put in their last name, their first name, the month and year of their birth, and it will tell them are they registered. Or they can call the county election offices. They can call 973-621-5061 or 973-621-4922 to ask if they're registered to vote.
Great, that's beautiful. Is there a method for a person to verify if their vote has been received and counted?
Yes, so 2 ways, really 3 ways, because you can call us, like I said, 973-621-4922, but what's better than that is you can go online, either at the New Jersey Division of Elections website and put in your name and your address, or you can access that information at EssexClerk.com. So on our website, our county clerk's website, we're going to have a program where you'll be able to enter your name, and it will tell you whether or not your ballot was received and the date it was received.
Chris, are there, in terms of the drop boxes, right? Is there going to be a map where people can actually see where the drop boxes are? If they can go on the line down at the clerk's office and really see where those boxes are?
It's another great question.
Thank you.
Every voter, inside their ballot, their vote-by-mail ballot, will be a postcard telling them of all the secure ballot drop boxes throughout Essex County. Right now, there's 24 to choose from. There's East Orange City Hall, right in front of East Orange City Hall. Every municipality, all 22 municipalities in Essex County, has a secure ballot drop box in the municipality. So 24 altogether, actually it's increasing, but we wanted to put out the list. but there are sites pending. But every voter will receive those locations with their ballot.
Right. Now, we know we're going through this pandemic. What are some of the safety measures that are put in place for those who choose to vote in person?
Right. Okay, so there are polling places, as you said. There are multiple polling places in East Orange, and every voter will receive a postcard telling them where their polling place is. At the polling place, you can vote on a provisional paper ballot, or if you're a disabled voter, you can vote using the audio component of the voting machine. It's a headset, it's a handheld device that you can make your choices with. But if you choose to vote on a provisional paper ballot, you will be set up with a privacy screen on a table where you can vote your ballot. After each voter, there is mandatory cleaning that happens. The state has mandated cleaning of the table, of the privacy screen, of all surfaces after each voter.
Wow. Do most of the poll workers that's working, do they have to wear the mask all day, or if they're practicing social distance, do they have to take them off?
No, they have to wear the mask.
Okay.
So all poll workers and challengers have to wear a mask. Now, what's interesting is voters, we prefer voters wear a mask, but the Attorney General's office said a voter does not have to, by law, wear a mask if they don't want to. But we are going to have masks at the doorway of every polling place. If a voter doesn't have a mask, they're going to be offered a mask and gloves if they prefer.
Great. So, come on, East Orange, we know what we have to do. You know, we have to make sure that when we go out, and make sure on election day, wear that mask. If you want to wear your gloves, again, as I always say, it protects all of us. It protects you, and it protects that person who you are coming in contact with. So, where should college students register? Where should some of the college students who want to register, where should they go? And what else do students and young voters need to know about the election process?
Okay, so college students have a choice.
Right.
Because they're residing at college. So they can choose to register to vote in the state where they're attending college, or they can register to vote in New Jersey.
Okay.
But you can only vote in one place.
Right.
So they have that choice to do, register where they want to register. And they might think their vote is more powerful in another state than it is New Jersey. Now, obviously, the only office in the country where it's a state-by-state decision is president. Every other office is a true one person, one vote, where it's true equality, but because of the compromise at the inception of our country, we have the Electoral College. I like the popular vote, but but we have the Electoral College.
Yes.
But students need to verify not only that they're registered to vote, but where their election mail is being mailed to, their mail-to address. They need to verify whether their ballot was accepted by going and tracking to see if their ballot was returned. And not just, they need to encourage their friends to vote. So that's really, it's all about information and empowerment and spreading the word of true democracy.
Right, there it is. So, I'm 17 years old. Can I vote? If I was 17 years old, can I register to vote?
You can register to vote.
Right.
But you can't vote until you're 18.
18.
But that's an important, you know what's important? Is if a child, a 17-year-old is going to be 18 on November 3rd, they can vote as long as they register to vote by October 13th.
Wow.
That's what's important, is anyone from October 13th to November 3rd who's going to be 18 needs to first register by October 13th to be eligible to vote.
So again, you heard that from our county clerk. If you're 17 years old and you register to vote by October the 31st, October 13th, you can vote in this up and coming November election.
Yep, as long as you're 18 by November 3rd.
As long as you're 18 years old. So make sure parents or those who are sitting on our social media, you heard it, make sure we push our young people who are eligible with that date to make sure they get out to vote. That's so important. Now, does voting by mail in this election mean you will automatically be signed up to vote by mail in the future?
No, no, so we have a new law that incorporated all past people who voted by mail in the past and made them forever vote by mail voters unless they requested otherwise in writing. This election, whether it be the primary or the general, if you're sent a ballot and you did not request a ballot, you will not be sent a ballot in the future unless you request it. You just go back to, normal status. But this election, every registered voter is being mailed a ballot, even if you requested it or not. But if you did not request it officially, you will not get a ballot in the future unless you request it proactively.
Right, and thank you for that. So, Chris, is there some numbers that you can give out very quickly that would allow people to, assure themselves that they can call directly down to your office? Is there a number again that you can give out?
Yeah, they can call 973-621-4922 to get all kinds of information, whether or not you're registered to vote, whether or not your ballot has been mailed out, whether or not your ballot has been received.
Right. So important, there are quite a few people that has a disability, right? What are some of the assistance that, when it comes to disability, that is offered, to our folks with disability or physically challenges and need help voting during this election?
Okay, so way we can provide assistance is every registered voter is being mailed a ballot.
Right.
So they can receive assistance if they are homebound.
Okay.
By any family member who can help them fill out the ballot, and on the portion of the ballot it asks for who assisted you. So that just has to be documented. Also at the polling place, if you're going to vote on, if you're able to get to the polling place and you're disabled, and you want to vote on a provisional paper ballot, the board worker can help you, can assist you in voting, and they would just be documented as the assister. Or you can vote using the audio component of the voting machine to vote.
Good. Yeah, and I think that's so important, right? Explaining that process, right? When we do have a individual who is physically challenged, and I was that person who was helping that person, as we say, the carrier. Always, can you just explain that process again? Because sometimes people don't know how that process works.
The bearer or carrier,
right, the bearer
ballot,
or carrier,
yeah,
right.
It's very important because each registered voter is only allowed to be a bearer or a carrier of someone else's ballot, 3 other voters' ballots. So I myself, well, I'm a candidate, so I'm not allowed to be a bearer or a carrier, but you, Mayor, you could bring your own ballot back, and you could bring 3 other voters' ballots back as the bearer or carrier of those ballots to return them. But you'd have to document on the outside of the return ballot that you are in fact carrying that ballot for the voter. Okay. By signing your name on the outside of the ballot. Whether or not you bring that ballot to a secure drop box, or bring that ballot to the post office, or bring that ballot back to the Board of Elections in person, that needs to be filled out that you took that ballot from a voter, and you can only take 3 other voters' ballots to deliver.
Great. Chris, I have to ask this. I know earlier in the primaries, the general rather, you had a video that you posted. Are you going to post that video again so people can really see the video and kind of go by what's being done in that video and know how to do all these things?
Yes. So we just produced a 30-second public service announcement, which is on Verizon, it's on Comcast, it's on Cablevision. It's been running, it'll run right into October. I'm also going to produce a how-to vote video on Friday, which I will distribute on Facebook, social media, by email, to get it as widely as we can. I also would like to produce that video for people who can produce the video in Spanish, in Creole.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Right.
By mail, the step-by-step process, so that people feel comfortable with the process. Because there's a lot of directions and a lot of, we don't want anyone to make a mistake. We want everyone's vote to count, so we want to be thorough.
Thank you for that. They haven't received the VPN ballot, or if the ballot has been lost or destroyed, or if you made a mistake while marking it. What should a person do?
Okay, so a person should follow up with the county clerk's office. like I said, if you didn't receive your ballot by October 5th, you should start to question where your ballot is. And if you need to, you request whether or not you didn't get your ballot, whether or not you spoiled it, you threw it out, you can't find it, you need to request another ballot. And we will have a second ballot request form at essexclerk.com where a voter can download that form, can email it to us, can fax it to us, can hand it in to us. They can be delivered into us for us to mail out to the voter, priority mail to the voter, so that that voter can cast their ballot. So there's many chances to vote. There's the first mailing. If they didn't receive the first mailing or threw out their ballot, they can request another one. There's going to be early voting 7 days before where someone can go in person and request a ballot, and there'll be election day chance to vote on a provisional paper ballot.
Wow, thank you for that. So again, you heard it from our clerk. Those are a number of ways that all of you had the opportunity to vote. Again, he would definitely be doing the PSA for all of you. And as our clerk said, he's going to be trying to do it in the different languages, from Creole to Spanish to English. So please look out for the PSA that's going to be coming from the Essex County Clerk's Office. What I'm going to ask is, Connie, do we have any Facebook questions? We have 2, so our clerk can answer those questions.
Okay, this question is from Ms. Johnson. She says, what if you've signed up to do mail-in ballot? Will you be able to vote in person or just by mail only?
Okay, so even if you're mailed a vote-by-mail ballot, and every registered voter will be mailed a vote-by-mail ballot, you don't necessarily have to vote on that ballot. I want you to, but you don't have to vote on that ballot. You can go to your polling place on election day and vote on a provisional paper ballot, and your ballot will count. Every vote counts in New Jersey. It doesn't matter how large the margin is of victory. By law, every vote counts. Every vote-by-mail ballot, every provisional paper ballot, every machine vote, it all counts. So yeah, you can choose to vote by mail, or you can go to the polling place, to your polling place, and vote in person.
Okay. And another question we have is, how does one become a poll worker?
Okay, so a poll worker you're going to get paid $200 for the day. It's 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. The Board of Elections hires the poll workers. They train the poll workers. Obviously, they're being trained on Zoom videos right now, and there's greeters. You know, there's board workers who greet the voters. There's board workers who work the table, the table which voters come up to see where they need to go. There's poll workers that set up the partitions for the voters to vote. There's poll workers that will maintain the ballot drop box, where a voter can bring their ballot back on election day to their polling place to drop in the secure drop box inside the polling place. So that's another opportunity.
Do you have any more questions?
I did just get a question, and I think you probably already know the answer, but I'll ask it. This is from Janice Walker. Are we going to have police officers secured at all drop boxes 24 hours a day in our city? Okay,
well, first of all, I want to say, which I don't think we covered, about a new law that was in effect on March 17th, which says that any person who is on parole or probation can actively register to vote. So if you're on parole or probation, when you were on parole and probation, you were taken off the voter rolls. You now need to proactively register to vote in this election. Only those who are incarcerated cannot vote, but anyone who's on parole or probation, formally or currently, you need to register to vote and cast your ballot. As far as security, for the secure ballot drop boxes, there's 24-hour video surveillance on every secure ballot drop box. The secure ballot drop boxes are 500 pounds. They are bolted into the cement ground. 4 bolts bolt the secure ballot drop box into the ground. They're all in public spaces. So they're on municipal property or county property. So that's the security being provided for those ballots. And they're picked up on a daily basis. So all the ballots from those secure ballot drop boxes are picked up every night at 8 p.m. So it's never too long that those ballots stay in. should be just for the day. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They will be locked at 8 p.m. on election night for no more ballots to be dropped in there.
Wow, thank you so much, County Clerk. So, we all know that every election is important, right? Because it gives all of us an opportunity to voice cast our vote for what we believe in. And listen, so many people have died for us to have those rights in this country. So, is there anything that you had to advise young people, right, in terms of getting out there to vote? Don't allow apathy to get in your way, or don't allow what you hear on the news, because most people say, you know what, my vote don't count. Explain to people how they vote do count, and it's so meaningful, because we know for a fact that there has been different occasions and different elections right locally where somebody came out exactly at 7:55 and cast their vote, and that person won by one vote, So I just want to explain how important this election and any election is in terms of voting.
Yes, every vote is vital. Every vote is your speech. There's been so much blood, sweat, and tears poured out to give that right. And I think about the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. Think about that for a moment.
Yes.
Granted. That's a right. It doesn't need to be granted. But it's important, because I'll never forget in 2012, Hurricane Sandy ravaged New Jersey 6 days before Election Day. And we didn't know if polling places were going to be open. We had thousands of voters come to the Hall of Records in person to vote in person. And we had a woman from East Orange who came in a wheelchair. She was in the hallway, waited for 3 hours. I felt bad because I didn't know she was waiting. 3 hours, the line was out the door, and she finally got to the front. And I asked her, and she talked about how her grandmother didn't have the right to vote, and how her grandmother told her of the importance of voting and casting her voice. And she told me, my vote is my voice, and the voice of all those who fought and struggled so that I may have my voice.
And that's very powerful. I know that I'm very grateful to my parents, because one thing that as soon as my oldest sister and my oldest brother returned, before 18, my father had the ballot ready. But the day that we was eligible to vote, he made sure that he walked us to the post office and was able to take our application and place it in the mailbox so we was ready to vote. He did that with all of us because he knew and taught us how important voting was. So I couldn't wait to really fill out the application when I was 18 because we couldn't do it when we were 17,
Right.
So my dad had everything ready for you. Then you turn 18 on your birthday. The first thing he'd give you before he gave you your birthday card, right? He would give you a voter registration form and say, fill this out first. You filled that out. He'd take you over to the post office, and we was right on Steuben Street. Go up to the post office, make sure you drop that. Then he goes, happy birthday with your card, So
It's the first step in building a community.
there you go.
Really
First
is.
step. He always
First
talked
step.
about
Take
that,
that first step.
and he always say, it's your right. It's your right to make sure that you vote. Because if you're going to be in this community, and you're going to be a part of the process, then guess what? If you don't vote, then you can't, talk about too many things because you haven't went out there and voted and had your opportunity to say what you feel about the process. So, listen, you gave us a lot, County Clerk. Is there anything else that folks should know that's on our meeting tonight that we left out? Because we asked a lot. We talked about the process. We talked about the ballots. We talked about absentee ballots. We talked about the new law for parolees. Is there anything else? Because I want folks to know how important every election is, but this election is more important than ever.
It is. This election is everything, and we not only need. I always say, what we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others in the world remains and is immortal. So it's not just, we don't just need your vote. We need you to bring your neighbors, your friends, your family out to vote, to make sure their ballots are cast, make sure their ballots are returned. Just emphasize that. It's not just about you, it's about community.
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
And if we have the community vote, there's nothing we can't accomplish.
That's right, and I thank you for that. So, listen, everybody that's listening, you heard it from our county clerk, Chris Durkins. Let's go. We gave you so much information on our meeting tonight. You have a number of numbers that you can call down to the clerk's office. We're going to make sure you have our city clerk's telephone number also. We're all working together. We're making sure that all of you have all the tools that you need to make sure that on this November the 3rd, that there's no excuses, that you got to get out there and vote. So thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you so much for joining us this evening. You're welcome to stay. We're just going to go a little into, we got Dr. Griffin who has been with us, man, from day one with this COVID-19. And we've been sitting in this room for many weeks. And we're just going to go quickly over some of the numbers, let her go over some of the numbers, and go over some of the sites that we have for the flu. But if you have anything else to share with us, please do.
Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to hear from the officer.
Okay. All right. Okay. So again, we are so grateful to have Dr. Griffin who joined us tonight. She didn't really join us. She's been with us on this COVID and this pandemic for the last, like I say, 26 to 27 weeks. Sometimes we forget how many weeks, but we have been grinding for a long time. So I did give the numbers, Dr. Griffin, so if you can go right into your spill with our flu sites that we have, and talk about, we're coming into the flu season, and I can kind of get mixed up with this COVID stuff and the importance of making sure that we continue, especially as a city, because we just finished talking about the importance of people coming out during the election, but they also have to be mindful of protecting themselves, wearing a mask. So just quickly give us an overview of what's going on in terms of with your office and some of the things that we have out there for the residents here in the city of East Orange.
Sure. Good evening. I know the mayor did provide the numbers, and we know that our numbers still within the city remain relatively stable, but we're seeing an increase in positive cases across the state, and still in many surrounding states. And as the mayor did mention, we're entering into the flu season, and I know that there are a lot of varied opinions about whether or not individuals will take the flu shot. Sometimes, there's a large percentage of the community that doesn't like to take the flu shot. And so what we're stressing are two things. We're stressing preparation, and we're stressing prevention. It's important for you to prepare for a potential second wave. We remain optimistic. We hope that we will not face another spike or a second wave, but the reality is that it's very likely. And we're entering into the flu season, which is very similar to what happened at the very beginning of the pandemic in March, where we were seeing a lot of cases of flu and COVID. And so it's very important for you to, one, prepare. If you have a chronic condition and you have medication, learn from what happened in March or the past several months, and make sure that you're communicating with your doctors. Make sure that you have a plan, because there were many individuals who did not have medication. They needed a larger supply of medication because there were offices that shut down. So do whatever you need to do to adequately prepare and make sure that you have what you need in the event that the numbers spike again, and in the event that the community has to shut down again. As far as prevention is concerned, I will go back to the flu. I will continue to encourage the community, especially our seniors and those who are more vulnerable and have more chronic conditions, to take the flu shot. The flu shot has nothing to do with the COVID vaccine. We know that there's a lot of mixed opinions about the COVID vaccine, but the flu shot has been around, and there are a lot of myths surrounding the flu shot. A lot of people believe that if you take the flu shot, you're going to get the flu. And that's not true. Usually when you contract the flu after the flu shot, it's because it's been in your system. And so it's important for you to do this early as opposed to waiting, because we're seeing that there are individuals that are starting to contract colds. We're seeing that the weather is even shifting. It's starting to get much cooler than it was before. And so the season is here. So do whatever you can to protect yourself. If you are not open to taking the flu shot, make sure you're doing whatever you can to boost your immune system. So I won't list things that you can do. I think that individuals have their own strategies, remedies, and also physicians that they can talk to discuss ways that you can boost your immune system, but that's going to be critical. Also, in terms of pneumonia, for some physicians are recommending prevention of pneumonia even, because again, the flu is another respiratory virus, and it can result, or you can contract the flu and COVID at the same time, which results in a combination that we really don't want to see. So do whatever you can to continue to prevent contracting the flu. Do whatever you can to continue to take the necessary precautions to prevent the contraction of COVID even. And if you have chronic illnesses or chronic conditions, don't neglect yourself. Don't neglect your health while trying to be safe and protect yourself from COVID. Make sure that you're continuing to manage your chronic conditions, because it's important for you to be as healthy and strong as possible going into the flu season and as we enter the fall. We are, as the mayor mentioned, offering free flu shots to the community, whether you are under 18 or over 18. The community is eligible for free flu shots. If you don't have anywhere to go, you can certainly contact us here within the department. Our nursing division is actually taking the lead on administering the flu shot within this community. So you can feel free to call our nursing division at 973-266-5463. Again, it's 973-266-5463. And also, if you are in need of COVID testing, do know that we are still offering COVID testing here within the city. We'll offer it again on October 2nd and on October 16th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The location has changed, whereas before we were offering COVID testing at Elmwood, at 161 Elmwood Avenue. We shifted the location because we do recognize that the weather is changing. And so moving forward for the fall, for the winter, for as long as we need to do it, to offer it to the community, we'll be operating out of Raleigh Park. So again, testing, the next two testing dates are October 2nd and October 16th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll continue to do whatever we can to provide you with the most up-to-date information as we go into the fall and what that means for you and COVID and the flu, so that you are as informed as you can be. And transparency is also important, so we'll make sure that we do whatever we can to provide you with the information so that you can do whatever you can to remain safe.
Thank you very much, Dr. Griffin, for all that information. I also want to really thank our Essex County Clerk, Chris Durkins, for joining us this evening. He had to leave because he had another engagement, but again, we thank him so much for all the information that he gave out about, voting, absentee ballots, ensuring folks that we're doing everything we can to make sure that when it comes to the safety and the fairness of the voting, that those measurements are in place. Also, the mail-in ballots, absentee ballots. Thank you so much, Chris Durkins, for talking about all of those things this evening. So again, East Stone, don't forget, you have to make sure before October the 13th, if you haven't registered to vote, that's the deadline, October the 13th. The election is November the 3rd. Everyone should be ready to get up and go out there and vote on November 3rd. So again, that's election day. So we're a couple of weeks away from election day. That day is November the 3rd, so make sure we have to do. Also, when we talk about make sure we do what we have to do, we can't stop iterating about our Census 2020. It's so important, these stories, that we continue to push the census. Our deadline is September the 30th, so we're going to push all the way to September the 30th to ask each and every one of you to make sure you complete the census 2020. But we also want to ask you to join us on this Saturday, September the 19th, starting at 12 p.m. in front of East Orange City Hall. We will be traveling throughout the city in a census parade to raise awareness and encourage everyone to fill out the census 2020. If you'd like to join us, meet us in front of City Hall at 12 p.m. on this Saturday, which is September the 19th. If you haven't already filled out the census 2020, we're asking all of you, we're challenging all of you to reach out to 10 of your family members or your friends or folks in the community and encourage all of them to make sure they fill out the census. The census are so important. That's how we get funded. So with that, everyone, we had a great meeting tonight. We had an opportunity to really dig into some of the concerns that I know that many of the residents have been having when it comes to making sure that we are getting our vote cast during this pandemic and during this COVID. And we thank Chris Durkins. I know that we'll be posting the numbers and the websites. Then Dr. Griffin came in and gave you the importance of making sure you go get that flu shot and what the myth about people taking the flu shot. And also, you'll have a number up on the screen. If you need to reach out to Dr. Griffin and her office, the numbers are going to be posted and listed. Please feel free, if you need to call the mayor's office for anything, mayor's office of constituent services, please call 973-266-5151. Call that number. But I just want to kind of go back very quickly because our county clerk talked about the new law that passed for the parolees are now eligible to vote. So again, if you're a parolee, look at the law, you can be eligible to vote. So make sure you cast your vote. All right. With that, East Orange, thank you for joining us. We'll be back here on next Wednesday at 6 p.m. For our daily and weekly meeting. Again, please utilize all those numbers. Please make sure you continue to all those families who are in need of food distributions. We continue to make sure that the folks in the city of East Orange get food. So please don't forget about the Division of Senior Services, Rita Butts and her division. Office of Emergency and Management, Dave Williams. Let me just give you the numbers, 973-266-8832. That's the Division of Senior Services, and Office of Emergency Management, 973-677-8924. Call that number if you need any help. So with that, we're going to tune off. Any questions, call the Mayor's Office of Constituent Services. We're here to help. We're here to guide you. But again, East Orange, we cannot get lapsed in terms of this COVID-19 and this pandemic. You heard it from our Director of Health and Human Services that we guide to make sure, especially between the month of September, October, November, December, going to January, where we are subject, if we don't do right, for those numbers to go up when it comes to this COVID-19. And we've been doing so good. I ask you to continue to do well, and we'll talk to you next week. So again, may God continue to bless you, your families, and may God bless East Orange. Let's go East Orange. Let's do